Okay, welcome back, part 2. I thought I'd just give it a little bit of more information about our experiences that we've had at this location. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to release the sound recording of the tree that got pushed over. You've seen the footage from one of the previous videos as to the tree in question, which I'm certain is the one that was pushed over, because you can see it was quite fresh. Well, I mean, at the time it was very fresh, but now you can see it was fairly fresh from the video, which is what, 3-4 months later. But the roots themselves, you could actually see were quite solid, and that, so it was associated with other activity there at the time, and it was a still night, and yeah, you could hear the tree crashing down. It's not the best recording, because what actually happened was the microphone with the parabolic ear was pointing in a different direction, and the microphone I'd only got that morning or the day before. It was that soon that I didn't understand exactly all the features on it. So the microphone was on a low setting and not high, so I really thought that it would have been a much better recording, and yet it wasn't, because it was on a low setting. So I'm a bit disappointed about that. But the main thing is, you know, I was very fortunate enough to actually get a recording of a Sasquatch in the UK, an Anglosasquatch, pushing over a tree. And later on in that recording, because this happened within 2 minutes, literally 2 minutes. So they were watching me. The best way of describing it is they weren't happy about me putting out the recorder for the night. But within 2 minutes I got set up the recorder. You can hear me talk it through. You know, how I start off all the recordings, giving a time and date and location. I walked back to the car because I was doing a solo. Yes, I go out and do solos sometimes. I have to say, I've not gone back and done a solo since October, when the tree was recorded pushed over. But still, I'll be quite happy to go back there now and do a solo like I did previously. But what I do is I sit in the back of the car and try and see if they'll come to me. And unfortunately they showed their annoyance that particular night by pushing over the tree, but I'm happy with that because I got it recorded. And it was it that night? No, it wasn't that night, but a night before I got a thermal signature of a tree peaker. And this was my first time out using this one, a Fleur i7. Not fantastic resolution, but it's better than the one I got from China, which wasn't great. It's good for daylight thermal signatures, but not for night time. It hasn't got the same sort of resolution. And yet this one here, the Argus, that was the first one I got. The battery life doesn't last very long, 10 minutes, so I've got to change the battery cell on that, but I've not got around to that yet. So you've got to break the seal. Try to get a replacement battery for it, but I can't. But anyway, that is the one that got the recording in Site 6 of an 8-footer. So that could well be the first ever thermal footage of a Sasquatch in the UK. So it's a blinking good thermal camera. Just unfortunate it saps power very, very quickly. So I'm going to have to concentrate on getting that one ready again. And at some point I'll be doing a recreation of what we experienced last, I think it was July or August, and just reinforce the fact that, yeah, we we honestly believe we know it was an 8-footer, because it was so huge, the thermal signature on it, and it was behind the back of the nest, which we can't even see over, or very just be able to see over. It's quite interesting that they use whatever vegetation and the likes to hide behind, and it was certainly using that dense area of the nest to get as close as possible to us. That was what, 100 feet, it was 95 feet, something like that, to us, to actually spy on us. So it was well interesting what we were up to, but luckily it didn't understand that we have the ability to see in the dark with the thermal camera. Although it only lasted 10 minutes, it was long enough for us to actually get a good view, or for my colleague to get a good view. I was gutted that when he passed the camera over to me, he'd gone. But I was listening to all of the heavy twig snaps and branch breakages that was associated with him. Okay, so what other experience have we had? Well, we've had the tree pushed over, which I believe is the second time that we've had what could be inferred as a sort of hostile, no, unwilling, unwanting acknowledgement that we were there searching for them. So they did that. So I'm happy that they did, but boy, I tell you, when you're by yourself and that happens, and that was 100 meters away from me, I heard it crystal clear, unlike the recording. That sends shivers down your spine. And I stayed for another 20 minutes. The recording itself lasted about half an hour. So 2 minutes in, you have the tree that got pushed over, and then you can hear me in the background. I was actually trying to communicate with them. I talked to them. I listen with the bionic ear, hear them walking around, and I would try and communicate with them, just to let them know it's me, although they don't really need to know that. They're smart enough to understand it's the same old character turning up again and again. So I'll try and communicate with them and hope that I get some sort of response. The response that I got from that was, on a couple of occasions, stones being thrown towards the microphone. So obviously I took that. It wasn't aimed at me, the tree being pushed over. It was aimed at the fact that I'd put this recorder out to try and monitor them. I accept that for what it's worth. They didn't throw anything at me, they threw things at the recorder. So now I don't bother taking that recorder out with me. It was on a camera tripod with a big parabolic dish with the microphone strapped to it. So they were conscious of that bit of equipment and not happy about it. So I acknowledged that. That was their way of telling me, and the message came through loud and clear. So what was the first episode that I could say was a hostile, or could be conceived as a hostile approach? Okay, shortly after I did the video, I think it was about another few days after I did the video of the tree. Oh, we can hear a bit of thunder now. You can, the tree that's got all the branches stripped down on one side. Now, following the discovery of that, I thought it was a nest or a partial nest that they had made, because we couldn't find anything, any saw marks or campfires or litter or anything to believe that had anything to do with human activity. So No hair was found at the bottom either. But it was... I'm going to talk about that at the moment before I go on to the next bit. Later on in the summer, we came across, at a distance from that particular tree, wood branches that were, there was about 4 or 5 of them that had been laid down at the edge of Site 6. They'd been carried there. They weren't associated with any of the trees that were nearby. They were snapped, and they were all about the same thickness as this branch. Alright? Which got me thinking. It was too late now for me to actually go back and see if any of those branches marry up with some of the broken branches that are up in the tree. But I have a distinct suspicion that they came from that tree. That they were carried there from Site 4 to the edge of Site 6, stored there, and then at a later stage being used as tree knocking sticks. I don't know for sure, you know, I'm only guessing on this, but I'm trying to piece together why that tree had been stripped of on one side and why those particular tree branches were found together at Site 6, and one of the branches was high up in the tree. Okay, it was about 15 odd feet up in the tree, so it had been pushed up there, and it was off path, and it had definitely been on the ground before, because on the broken branch edge you could see soil. So somebody or something had actually purposely put that tree branch up there in the tree canopy. Why? Do not know. It doesn't seem like the rational sort of thing that a human would do. But yeah, those branches, about 4 of them, had been carried into that location, and I've done videos on it, but unfortunately it gives away a little bit too much information, so I'm not going to be passing that on. Maybe at a later stage, huh? But yeah, it was 4 of these branches that had the same sort of, they were longer than this, but obviously where you're going to break it, where it gets thinner towards the end of the branch, that was still intact. But the overall thickness was very, very similar to this, which I firmly believe, in fact I know, I'd stake so much money on it that it would be untrue, that is one of their sticks. And you know, I did the video before I even had the contact that I've had with these forest people, and I stand by everything that I said in that video, that this is definitely one of theirs. Okay, so going back to that tree, a few days after I'd did the video on that tree, which I think I might have seen some sort of movement in the trees, which I couldn't identify as being deer or something else, but you could hear twig snaps around, circling around me, and that's what you do here. Okay, that's I don't hear twig snaps when deer get close to you, because generally speaking deer don't get that close to you. You walk up on them, unless you're stationary and they walk into your path, but I don't hear, they're a bit more delicate when they're walking through the forest. But these Sasquatch, Anglosasquatches, they can make heavy twig snaps, and that's the sort of thing that alerts us, particularly at night, to their presence. Okay. What happened that day? It was a few days after I made that video about the tree. I was wandering back through Site 4. I've been checking out some numerous ground sticks. I found a tree arch in the area, a multiple tree arch. There was not a multiple in itself. There was about 3 separate tree arches that were close by, and I found the sort of the star shape branch collection, and lo and behold, I was walking underneath these large broadleaf trees in the summer, so it's in full leaf, and I heard this massive branch break above my head. Now, it was summertime, there was no wind whatsoever, and it was no blinking squirrel that could break a branch like that. It was a heavy branch break. Alright? 3 seconds later, a fresh broken branch about 6 to 8 inches long got thrown down from that very tree right in front of me. If you can imagine. Coming down, I was walking along here, the tree was above me like that, and I heard the twig snap or branch snap down there from about, I don't know, 20 feet up, 15 feet up, and I walked a few paces. I thought, ooh, that doesn't sound right. I'm a bit cautious of this, and then the tree branch got thrown down at my feet. It was about 6 foot ahead of me. Alright, now, was it thrown at me? No. I keep thinking back about this. Was it directed at me, or was it directed as a warning? I am of the impression that yes, it was a warning. It wasn't directed at me, because I'm sure that if they really wanted to, they could have done anything they wanted to do me. But they threw it at my feet, about 6 foot ahead of me. That was the scariest moment of my entire life, I can assure you. It could quite easily have jumped out of the tree and been on top of me. Alright? So what did I do? I shouted out, I understand, I'm leaving now. And I said, before I leave, I'm going to leave you some apples over there next to the tree that had the branches stripped from it. Okay, that's the best I could do given the split second situation I had to deal with. Alright, I got about 40 to 50 feet away, and then I turned around to have a look to see if anything was there. I looked up in the tree, I looked everywhere, and there was no sign of anything. But that was right above my head, and I was by myself. So yeah, if I had somebody else with me, I think yeah, I would have gone back and tried to discover the source, but I didn't. I was pretty shook up, and from that point on I decided that I would need to take some precautionary measures whenever I go in the forest by myself. Okay, I don't mind admitting this, but I took a rape alarm with me, a panic alarm, and I also carried a starting pistol, just in case there was any need to actually do that. And this was the same day that I got the video footage. Okay, from June last year, which I'm sitting on. So yeah, I got footage earlier on that afternoon, and you can hear the sounds in that video and I am certain that is them communicating to each other. You can hear twig snaps as well. That's more than likely. Well, that's related to them. There might be one or two that might be related to me at the start and the end, but during the middle section, that's them. Alright, so the whoo, whoo sound, that's them. Now, nobody's ever come back to me saying that's what's it type of bird, and I don't think they ever will, because I don't think it relates to any native species of bird to the UK. But it does sound similar, not exact, similar to the whistling sound of an orangutan that I've seen on YouTube. So that was interesting. But yeah, that was a scary day. That was a scary day for me. But it was also the day that I caught something special. And that is how I found out that this particular site was a hotspot. That's where we've been going back ever since. It can be hit and miss. We do have flat nights, but also we do have exceptionally awesome nights, which confirm to us beyond any shadow of a doubt that we are dealing with a living forest person to the United Kingdom. We call Anglosasquatches. Who are they? Where do they come from? Where do they hide? Well, the thing about the Goldilocks zone is that it is a very, very densely wooded area with conifers. It sits on a little bit of a hill, not much, but a little bit of a hill. It's got a small pond at the back, very small, but there's no major water sources nearby, so they must travel a little bit of a distance to get to the water, unless they're using that small pond. And the small pond is, we don't find any footprints, so it's infuriating. But yeah, my own personal belief, based on what's happened in SOA, based upon the things that we've experienced and understand that are happening here, we're dealing with something very similar, and that the light sources and the Sasquatch, Anglo-Sasquatch behaviour are related. It's far out there, I know, but it also gives a better understanding why these forest people have not been discovered to date, because there's something very unique about them. It's no doubt I'll get blasted for having these thoughts, but yes, I'm only trying to make sense of the things that we're actually dealing with at this location, and I hope in due course we can build upon everything that we've learnt to date to the point that we might be able to gain I don't think we'll ever find solid evidence, but some evidence to help back up the claims that we're trying to make here. What I can say about the Goldilocks zone is it's not just the flashing lights or the glowing red light. There's also this really, and the smells, yeah, and the smells. But every now and then, when we've gone close to or into this particular area, we get headaches. Right, tense head comes out of nowhere. You can arrive at the wood absolutely fine, You leave the wood, absolutely fine. Go to other parts of the wood, site 6, site 4, absolutely fine. You get close to site 6, you get a tense head, stroke a headache. And it's not just me. We've only recently we've decided to get closer to the Goldilocks zone as we try to understand what's going on there. And sure enough, our first night investigation, sitting out on the outskirts of the Goldilocks zone, all three of us got tense, headache like feeling. It lasted over an hour, and then it slightly sort of just disappeared. But for an hour we had a tense head, stroke headache. So that was something that we all acknowledged, and it wasn't anything to do with the weather, because this was a clear night, and it's something we get during the daytime. I've had this happen to me repeatedly, time and time again, that I've gone back to this area. So it's not just me. On this occasion, I made sure that as I was feeling it, whether other people were feeling it, and sure enough, everyone was. So there's something special going on there as well. People might think it might be infrasound or something like that. I don't know. But I'll be interested to know if anyone in America has had similar experiences dealing with a particular location where they know there's something odd going on and they get this tense head for a long period. Infrasound, normally you get a burst. It freezes you and makes you scared. This didn't make us scared. Far from it. It was like a deterrent, really, I feel. You know, just feeling, oh, it's not nice here, let's just go away. But it left after about an hour, and then sure enough we had, just before we left, we got twig snaps in the distance, so we thought maybe they were coming. But by that time it was too late, we had to pack up and go. But yeah. More experiences to be reported on in the future from the Goldilocks zone, that's all I can say. And whether we get some actual footage of lights going off, that's what I'm hoping for. Alright, I think I'll end it here for today. We've got another wet period, so I'm calling it a day for now. Alright, thanks for watching. All the best. Bye bye.